Hi, welcome back to Art and Soul. My name is Mike Severin. I'm really glad you came back to join me today. We've got a nice little painting we started last week of a wine bottle and wine glass, and I'd kind of like to give you a little bit of an insight into what happened. I had prepared actually to start a zebra last week, and when I started recording, for some reason I said wine bottle, so we went with it. So we're gonna get back to that wine bottle and wine glass today, and hopefully we can make it turn out to where it looks like something. I'm gonna go through really quickly what we've done and with what paints we've got. I've got the cad yellow, the burnt sienna, the yellow ochre, permanent green, orange, cad orange, our white, alizarin crimson, a phthalo violet, purple, some black, and our blue. And what we did last week was basically did our underpainting on this black 16 by 20 canvas, and blocked in just a simple little background in the background, and then this wine bottle glass up front on this little table. And when I started the painting, was doing it, it was really I got kind of out of perspective a little bit. This wine bottle needs to be trimmed down a little bit, and I'm going to go through and do that first thing tonight on the show, just to kind of show you that there's no mistakes. We can always fix them. And a lot of times what it is too is when you're up close painting, it's really easy to see it from this perspective, and you need to step back quite often from the paintings, and so you can get a little wider angle and perspective of what you've done. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get some burnt sienna and some white, and we'll just jump right in and get that wine bottle looking a little more like a wine bottle, not like a goblet. We don't want a goblet. No. I'm just going to come in here, and I'm just going to cut this in a little bit. Make this come up, just to make it a little less of a wide base, and so it'll have a little longer neck to it. And I think that's going to make it look a whole lot better. And I'm just scrubbing in here, just trying to get more of that shape that we're wanting correct. And that's a little better. And we'll grab a little bit of some of the purple and throw that in there. There we go. So cut this down a little bit, make it a little more in perspective to the size of the bottle and the placement on the table. Like I said, I use the purples a lot in the paintings for the shadow colors, because that is in nature. If you look, there's a lot of purples that are in the shadows, and so that looks pretty good. We'll fine-tune this a little more. Today what we're going to do is we're basically just going to get everything pretty much blocked in the way we like it. Start doing some of the intermediate detail work, and then next week then we'll finish out the painting with doing all of the highlights, which is the really fun part of the painting. All right, we've cleaned that up a little better, and we'll do more as we get farther along. What I want to do is I want to block in. We talked about having some vines, grapevines that are coming down, cascading behind the wine bottle and onto the table. So I'm going to grab some of my permanent green. I'm not going to clean my brush out any. We want this to be kind of dark, and I'm going right back into that same pile of paint that I had already mixed there, so it's got a little bit of everything in it. And I just want to just lay in just really loosely just some dark greens here, and then we'll come back in and we'll do our individual some individual leaves that'll be showing. And we're just following right along the edge of that wine bottle. Not being real careful here, making sure though we have some of that black that's going to be showing through. Grab a little more of the green, maybe throw in a little bit of that purple in there to darken it up even more so down below. Basically just scrubbing this into the surface. Like that. Maybe across the top here will be a leaf that'll be kind of in the background there. And what we do for the leaves is as we'll just add in our yellow right into that same mix, and get some. So we're not completely mixing. We've got both the greens and yellows on the palette there and on our brush, and so we'll just do these leaves that come out across like that. Grape leaves they've got these kind of little pointed edges on them. And you know, I'm doing this off of my memory, and I'm no expert on this stuff, on grape leaves by far, but you know, I looked at some pictures, and that helps get your eyes at least ready for it when you start to paint it. And you might need to have a little example in front of you to look at. Same with the wine bottle. These leaves that are just coming across, maybe there's one that'll stick out over here on the other side. They have just those little pointed edges on them. We want to try to get those. And you know, I'm using a bigger brush here, but I mean, you can use any size brush that you want to, and you can make these as detailed or as non-detailed as you like. It's your painting, so you can do it any way you'd like. And there's one that comes across like this. Maybe he even goes right across the edge of the bottle. And there's lots of ways of doing these leaves, lots of different brushes and techniques to do them, and that's all kind of a personal thing. And just play around with it, find what works for you, and just go for it. There we go. Throw some more down here in the bottom. I want them to come down here across down on the table. A few little leaves that stick over the edge. If you notice, there's not a whole lot of detail there, and I don't really want a whole lot of detail. I just want basically the suggestion that there's a greenery that's there. I want to do a couple more coming down here below, so I'll quickly pop those in. It's kind of a hard day today. Here in Oregon, we had a shooting at college down in Roseburg, and really kind of came into the studio tonight with a heavy heart for all those families that are dealing with that. I don't know what the final count was, but around a dozen killed and 20-some injured in this shooting, and it's just as saddening. I sent out some prayers today for those family that are dealing with that. All right. It's kind of fun to have something that you can we've got a lot going on in our world, and it's just nice to have something to take your mind off of kind of what's going on in the world around us, just to have a little bit of a break and not allow all of the negative stuff that is around us to to bring us down and destroy us. And we need more positive in our world. So we've got that kind of pretty well going. I'm pretty happy with that. We can do some more next week when we get in and do some of the highlights. Now what I want to do is, if you notice, we've got it darker on the right side. So our light source is coming from the left here. So I want to start developing our darks and lights here a little bit more, distinguish those out, as well as on our cup as well. So what we're going to do to start with is we're going to hit this right side with a darker color. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this it's going to be very close actually to that background color that we put in for the greenery. So I'm taking in that purple in with that permanent green, so it's quite dark. And I might even throw in just a little bit of alizarin crimson in there, yeah, like that. So it's actually quite dark. And so we'll just come down just right along that edge. And you know, I don't think it's quite dark enough, so I'm going to actually cheat, and I'm going to throw in just a splash of regular black. And those of you that have been watching the show know I don't normally use straight black. I usually like to make my own, but for the sake of time tonight, I think I'm just going to go into the black. So I just want to make sure that this right side of the bottle here is quite dark, because it would be shadowed, and with the greenery there, it's not going to bring out a whole lot of, you're not going to see a whole lot of color there. I'm just coming down and just kind of scumbling that dry brushing that color in there. And down here on the bottom we'll do the same, kind of to wrap that around a little bit. Of course we'll have our label in here, so I'm not going to worry a whole lot yet about that. I'm just lightly just bringing in some of that darks into it. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. And when you can do it, try to follow the contours of what the bottle, the shape of the bottle. So as it's coming down, I wrap it. Down and wrap it, because that's the shape of what the bottle would be doing. I'm going to go right into some white, into that same pile, and I want to lighten that up a little bit there on the left side. And you know, there's all sorts of shades of wine bottles and colors, so you know, if there's, like I said, if there's a certain wine bottle that you're wanting to imitate, you know, grab a picture of it and paint it that way. This almost, I like how that's blending into that darks over there on the other side. It's good. And I'll bring in just a few little stripes of that over here, maybe of some reflected light that might be hitting, and just blend those together. Yeah, that's looking pretty good there. Now let's take and work over here now on our wine glass. So I'm gonna take and switch to a little smaller brush for it. This is a 1/2 inch here, and we want a little more towards the gray hues for that. So I'm taking straight into our black, and I'll bring our white in. Obviously black and white makes a gray, and I want to go towards the middle tones of the gray, and want to lay in our gray on this shadowed side and bringing that across and down the stem of the wine glass, and then our right at the base do the same thing. We're doing the whole side, the whole thing there, but when we come in with our highlights, it'll take and lighten that up considerably. So now we've got that. I want to take and now bring in more towards the lighter side. So I've just got a big glob of white, and I'm putting it into that medium gray that I had started with. So we've got a pretty light gray, and we're going to take and come in now on the left side and incorporate that in. Now, if you notice, I'm not covering up all of that underpainting that we did last week. That underpainting is really important, and that's what kind of brings in the continuity of the painting together, is having those colors, because it's picking up, especially with a clear glass, you're going to be picking up a lot of the surrounding colors that will be reflected in through that glass. So we've done that. We're just hit just a little bit here on the edge of the stem, or the base of the stem. And again, we'll detail this out more next week as we get into doing more of the highlights. And right up here on the top of the glass, I want to take and lighten it up even just a little bit more. Just coming across, just hitting the top edge of that wine glass. That's good. Now, if you want to take and make it look like there's some wine in there, that's easy to do. We just take and we'll go into this alizarin crimson, and I'm going to go right into that pile that I was working in there with those grays. That may be just a hair on the light or too bright a side, so we'll kill it down a little bit with some black, make it more of a mauve. And this is one thing, you just have to kind of play with it until you get the color you want, and even once you get up here, we'll test it. Yeah, it's not bad, not bad. So I think we'll go with that. And I'm not wanting to take and cover up, completely fill that in. I'm just wanting just to kind of just rough, dry brush in some of that color into it, blend it in, and of course we'll be able to see a little bit of the other side of it there. That's pretty good. It could be a little better there, and I'll just kind of fine tune it a little bit just to kind of make it work a little better. If we get this laid down correctly, then next week when we do the highlights, it'll all come together. That's always the fun part of a painting, is getting to the icing, the candy, putting on the highlights. I love that part of it. That looks pretty good. So what I think we're going to do now is I think we're going to take and maybe bring in some more of these shadows that are coming across from the glass, and maybe they're at the base of the wine bottle itself, just to bring that a little stronger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into that same colors we were just using, darken it up a little bit. Maybe we'll bring in some of that burnt sienna into it, and a little more of the purple in there. So we've got a really deep mauve that we're working with, and we'll just take and run this across. We're coming across the very bottom of that, where the the base of that wine bottle would be, and right up to the edge. So it's coming across. And if we wanted to, we could even bring it out, flare it out like it would be more of that bottle that, or the glass that would be reflecting there. It looks pretty good. If you notice, I'm not covering up again all of that underpainting that we put in there. It's real important that we keep that there. That's why we worked so hard to get it there initially, just so that it gives us a nice base. And we're going now underneath with more of that shadow color, going over here and hitting a few spots that are through on this bottle behind the leaves there. A few little spots that might be showing through the leaves, and I want to take and just darken this up so that basically it's hard to tell where that bottle ends and where the background begins. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And I think I might even take some of these those mauves and bring those in over here on this right side. That looks good. I kind of like that. You know, and that's the thing with this process is, you know, if you get into it and you don't like the way it's turning out, you know, just paint over it. It's just that simple. So I want to take and now define a little bit more where the light's coming in here. So we want to brighten that up a little bit, I think, on that table. So I'm just cleaning out that brush really quickly. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to take the burnt sienna, and we'll bring in some white into that, and a little bit of that mud color that we had painted there. And we'll just kind of come across here. Maybe define this back edge a little better. Come through there. But it kind of makes that surface pop a little better. I'm not going to do a whole lot down here in the corner because I want my eye to be coming in towards that bottle and glass on the table. We'll bring this across where I had made that glass a little skinnier earlier. And then I'm going to go straight into my white, not very much, just a little bit on there, just to come in and hit a few little more highlight stuff across the table. And you're going, oh no, he just went across the stem of the glass. That's okay. We'll clean that up here in just a minute. Maybe right here at the front, I want this a little bit brighter through there so that it makes that shadow pop a little better. Looks pretty good. Now on your painting, you know, you may say, oh, I want to put like a corkscrew on here, or maybe a bottle opener. You know, you could put that here in the background if you wanted to, or maybe another bottle over here on the edge, or maybe a case of wine that you just see, or just the edge of it. Anything you want to do, it's your painting. So I want to take now and just clean that up a little bit. So I want to get some gray and white to make that get that stem back to where it needs to be. So I'm just grabbing some of the black and white, getting those medium gray tones again. We'll just come right back over, and simple as that, we can correct that where I overshot it with the paint on the edge. That looks good. Pretty happy with that. Not bad for starting out as a zebra. that's the really fun part of painting, is just it's just the process and the learning, and it's not something that you know, it's easy to take things too serious and get all stressed about them. You know, go with it. If it you never know what it's going to turn out like, and that's the fun part of the process. I think we're going to leave it at that for today, and then next week we'll come back in and do some highlights, both on our leaves in the background and on the bottle, and maybe do a little more detail with a label and the wine glass itself. And as always, I'm going to have to cut it short, and I always end the session with a few little words of it, hopefully inspiration. And tonight I want to talk about, there was a farmer that he won championships with his corn. He had the best corn, everybody loved his corn, and he won all sorts of different awards for growing this special corn. Somebody went to interview him, and they found out that the farmer was giving away his corn to his neighbors. And the reporter asked him why he did that. And the old farmer said, "Well, you must not know." He said, when at a certain point in the growing season, the pollen starts rising off of the corn stalks. And he said the wind carries that pollen around, and it pollinates all of the other surrounding farms around them. He said, if everybody else around me has bad corn, eventually my corn's going to be bad too. So rather than that happening, I give out my good corn to all my neighbors, so that we all can have great corn, and by doing that we all win. And when I heard that story, I thought, man, there is so much truth to that in our own daily lives. A lot of times it's easy to get caught up in our own little world, in our own little stuff, and we forget about those around us. Share what you have, the bounty of what you have. We've all been blessed in our own special ways. Share that with those around you, and it's going to bring good things to you. Rather than dwelling on your bad situation, and all of the bad situations around you can influence you and bring you down as well. So rather than dwelling on the bad, share that good corn with all those around you. And I think if we all would do that, we wouldn't have the situation like we had today down in Roseburg with the shooting at the college. I think that we can learn from that example, from that old farmer. So over the next week, think about that every day as you get up and go about your day. What can I do to bless those around me? Because by blessing others around you, you yourself will be blessed. Thank you for joining me today for this show. I hope you'll tell your friends and family about it and have them join in and watch. And at the end of the show, there'll be credits of how to get a hold of me through email or Facebook. I'd love to hear your comments and questions. And until next week, you have a great inspirational week. And I look forward to seeing you again next week on Art and Soul. CJ, I love you.